And welcome into the 2021 Rookie Show. I'm your host, Ian Power, joined as always by Frankie Santiago. We are going to be breaking down some of our thoughts on the, I guess we'll call them fantasy relevant draft picks from the draft over the weekend. I hesitate to use that phraseology because my God, did I hate this draft for fantasy purposes. But we got to break them down all the same because someone's got to be excited about them, and they're going to be drafted somewhere. Or at least some of them are. So,
yeah, relevant might be a stretch for a couple of these guys.
It's not last year's draft, that's for sure. This also is our Beer of the Month episode. We are not technically drinking a beer today, but Frankie, why don't you show it off instead of just taking a sip?
Taking a couple sips. We have had Smutty Nose beers on the show before. They have started to distill their own, I guess we'll call them RTDs, ready to drinks.
Yeah, what is this?
This is technically just a ready to drink cocktail. It's got guava, coconut water.
So it's basically just a pre-mixed cocktail.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I think it's very refreshing. I think the coconut water is a nice change from this could be classified as a seltzer, so maybe seltzer with vodka, but I like it. It's very refreshing.
It's a summer drink for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I couldn't crush these. I guess I could crush them in December. But it wouldn't feel right crushing them in December. This is like a cookout drink.
Oh yeah, this is definitely something that you want to have on
95 degrees out. You're frying up some burgers, playing some bocce in the backyard.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think with the coconut water, and then they have the other one that has aloe water, I guess, which I didn't.
Yeah, the other one's just tequila, right?
It's tequila, aloe water, and honey.
I'm interested.
I didn't know aloe water was a thing. Anyways, I digress. I think that they were going for more of a refreshing thing. So
sure,
this is what I would call a summer crusher. Yeah,
you use that word for literally everything that you bring to the table.
It's very hard to not crush beers when it's 90 degrees out.
Frankie, if everything is a summer crusher, nothing's a summer crusher. I believe Syndrome said that in The Incredibles.
I like it though.
No, it's good. It's good. Definitely a strong contender for. We'll put it in the seltzer category from Smutty. Not a lot of news that isn't draft related, honestly. Before we get into the show, really the biggest thing,
and it's big.
It is, yes. Really the biggest thing that has come out, including the draft, was the bombshell that broke right before the draft when Aaron Rodgers, basically announced that he no longer wishes to be a Green Bay Packer.
Although there were some contradictory statements that I saw, which was that he loves Green Bay and all of the people there and all the support he's gotten.
That's just PR.
It's a weird situation that I feel like is going to get very messy really quick. And, we talked about this a little bit on the way to the bar the other day. Assuming he leaves Green Bay, what does that spell for pieces like Davante Adams and Aaron Jones? Probably the two biggest pieces that I would say in that offense, aside from him, obviously.
Aaron Jones, I think, is fine. Aaron Jones, because he's a running back, his value isn't as tied to Rodgers as... so they're all... The entire offense taking a step back in rankings if Rodgers leaves or when Rodgers leaves. Aaron Jones is already further down boards as it is. I'd hesitate to move him down further, honestly, than where he is. I might lower his projections a little bit, but he's already kind of in a category where I feel like he's kind of undervalued. So, he probably stays put. Davante Adams, I've been wrestling with this since the news broke, pretty much, just trying to figure out how far down I would move Davante, because Davante Adams is my one right now.
Yeah.
And it's not really that close. I think he's still a great receiver. I don't think he's a system receiver. I don't think he's tied to Rodgers. I think he'd be good kind of regardless of who's under center. But obviously he's going to lose a lot of efficiency if Rodgers isn't there, and I think his touchdown volume comes down quite a bit as well. He might fall to 6 for me, honestly, if Rodgers leaves. I would take Tyreek Hill over him. I would take DeAndre Hopkins over him. I'd take maybe AJ Brown over him.
That's probably where my cutoff would be.
Yeah, I mean, there's just...
It's just, I mean, Devontae obviously is that kind of X factor when he's on the field. I mean, he didn't even... Did he play the full season last year?
No, he missed a couple games.
Yeah, and he was...
But everyone misses a couple games. Missing games isn't an issue for me because, like, it's the NFL. Everyone as long as you're not missing big chunks of the season, whatever.
The point I was making was that he missed a couple of games and he was still just leaps and bounds above tons of other receivers. I mean, it's just... He's just the X factor that's on the field that...
I'm just pulling up the rank. Yeah, so, like... For me, looking at our rankings here, he definitely falls below Tyreek Hill. He falls below Stephon Diggs for me. He falls below DeAndre Hopkins. He falls below AJ Brown. He falls below Calvin Ridley. I'm looking at him now in like the DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson range. Honestly,
I can see it.
And honestly, that still might be too. I have to really go in and take a look at, I guess what I expect Jordan Love to do if he ends up being the guy in that offense, because it was rightly so a bad decision by the Packers to draft the guy where they did in the first place, because he wasn't a high draft value target really. Everyone was like, why did he go so high? I don't really know how much faith I have in him to put out a good season.
I mean, I'm not saying it could happen. We could see some Herbert magic.
No.
Maybe?
No, because Herbert's a good quarterback. Herbert was described as being NFL ready, not a project. Jordan Love was a project.
I want to give
projects fail a lot of the time.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
So, as an example, look at the team where Rodgers is most likely to go to, the Broncos. Paxton Lynch, Drew Lock, both of them were projects. Both of them suck. There's a long history in the NFL of projects flaming out because they're projects for a reason. They are lacking skills. They need to succeed at the NFL level. Honestly, Devontae Adams is like as safe a receiver as you can get, in my opinion, in the National Football League, especially for fantasy purposes. He becomes a very risky player for me. I think you can't drop him much more than to the 6th spot, but that's a 6th spot with a high degree of risk.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I don't know if I drop him, maybe like 5-6, but I just think that he's too good of a receiver, even with Jordan Love, who is a project quarterback.
You still need yardage to actually score. If Jordan Love isn't moving the ball, we saw it last year with a bunch of teams who could not move the ball forward. Once again, the primary one, honestly, being the Broncos, where it's so many drives just flamed out and Noah Fant did nothing. Jerry Jeudy had a rough season. I mean, Courtland Sutton was out, but like, even if he was there, I don't have much faith that he would have, really done much. Devontae Adams is still going to get his, but it's risky if Rodgers leaves. Are you? Maybe not. Are you? Where would you be moving? Let's do a quick thought experiment before we move into the draft. I guess the draft talk. Let's say Rodgers goes to the Broncos, right? How high up do you move the skill position players for that team now that they have Rodgers instead of Teddy Bridgewater?
Is the moon a good spot?
Oh, come on, you can't.
Okay, so I'm not going to say the moon, but they have plenty of talented receivers.
Sure, but consensus rankings right now this is still pretty far out, but consensus rankings right now have Courtland Sutton at 28. The moon implies that you're moving Courtland Sutton up to 1.
I'm not gonna say he's gonna move up to 1, but I have a feeling that
Courtland Sutton or Allen Robinson.
So who is the actual starter in Chicago? Is my first
I think it's
question.
gonna be Justin Fields.
I
don't think Andy Dalton's going to get much of any playing time.
I got to go A-Rod there because he's just going to get the volume.
Okay.
And then that I won't say it's purely from a volume standpoint because Allen Robinson always has tremendous volume.
Okay, then Courtland Sutton or Keenan Allen?
That's kind of the same question though.
Okay, so you take Keenan Allen?
I'm taking Keenan Allen there.
Courtland Sutton or Mike Evans?
Keenan Allen. Not Keenan Allen. Sutton.
Okay, so you put Sutton at 11 then?
Yeah. I would move
So
Sutton
back
up.
end of the top 12. That's not
Yeah,
bad.
I mean, I feel like a lot of why Cortland Sutton is down there is because he missed all of last season.
Oh, yeah, because
Well, and also Drew Lock is the quarterback.
he's. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I think that I'd probably move Cortland Sutton right up into like the DJ Moore, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin range, like 16 to 14. Just because while he is supposed to be a great receiver, we haven't really seen him do it for a large sample size yet.
Unfortunately.
And it could just as easily end up being Jerry Jeudy, who has a fan, or they both could, or Noah Fant. Like there are a lot of strong options on that team. And if they end up with Rodgers out there, I would be shocked if none of them succeeded. I think that it's a strong bet that 2 out of the 3 succeed, and it's just which of the skill position players do you think are going to be the primary beneficiaries of that? So I'd be happy moving him, with his style of receiving and how good of a quarterback Rodgers is. I'd be fine moving him up into the Godwin range, and I think that that's a nice soft landing spot for him to give him plenty of room to for upwards mobility over the course of the season.
Well, it's like I think if you
And Fant, ooh.
I think my 2 picks would be Sutton and Fant because Sutton hasn't been that downfield receiver. That's Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy's going to blow by defensive backs and just get those long balls. Sutton's more of a Devontae Adams, like I guess we'll call him a budget Devontae Adams type receiver, where he's going to get the ball and he's going to move in the open field. Fant is the guy who I think is going to benefit the most.
Well, also just because the tight end position is a wasteland. So as we're going to talk about in a second, but like the tight end position is a wasteland. So if Noah Fant has Aaron Rodgers throwing the football, he becomes like probably my 4th tight end off the board.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
All right. Well, let's get into the draft talk here. We have a bunch of disappointing things to talk about.
So many.
So I guess honestly, we're probably opening on the highest note of the draft because the quarterbacks were the ones that I think have some of the most fantasy relevance of what I guess what occurred over the course of the draft. Trevor Lawrence, as everyone expected, went to Jacksonville. Decent cast around him. I mean, I think it's good for DJ Chark. I think it's great for Laviska Shenault. I'm excited to see what he does in his second year. I really, really can't stress this enough, though. I don't like him for redraft. I think he's going to be fantastic for Dynasty. We don't do a lot of Dynasty talk on this show, but I think he's going to be fantastic for Dynasty. Not excited for him for redraft. That team still has a lot of holes on it. That O-line still blows. I think he's going to spend a lot of time on his ass this season. It's definitely an upgrade for his pieces, and he might have relevant weeks, but he's nothing more than a high upside streamer for me. I have him as the QB3 out of this draft for redraft.
Yeah, I think I like a lot of the pieces around him. I think, and running backs aside, all the wide receivers. While you don't really have that Devontae Adams on the team, you have all serviceable receivers. I think for the
Chark is good. Laviska is a multi-tool player. He can play at a bunch of different positions.
Yeah, I think his good one. He has a good 1 to 3. I do agree he is going to be on his ass a lot, and I think they're going to be behind in games a lot.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be throwing a lot. I just don't like him. He's going to be popular because Gardner Minshew is popular, and he's going to be popular for all the same reasons. Because it's basically going to be like, well, if Minshew was popular, this guy is in the same exact position as Minshew was, but he's a better quarterback.
Oh, it's going to be...
So it's like, he's going to be a popular pick, and that's the other thing, too, is I don't think you're going to get as good value on him as you need to get on him to make him a relevant fantasy quarterback in the draft, because people are going to be hyped about drafting Trevor Lawrence. He's going to go higher than I'm going to be comfortable drafting him.
Yeah, as far as, like, I don't like him for redraft, because I think you're going to have to pay too much, like you said.
Yeah.
I like him for Dynasty because I think they have a good core to build around now for the next couple of years. And I think that it's going to be more of a... Like, he obviously has the talent.
Sure.
But, again, everything aside, those comments that he made about, being able to step away from football, I don't think he has a lot to prove. As far as what... he doesn't have...
I'm disregarding that for now because I just don't like that. Those comments happened. He's going to go out there. He's going to play. I don't doubt the kid's drive so much as I think that just might, maybe he doesn't lay it all on the line to win a Super Bowl. But I think he's going to be fine in the regular season. Listen, I don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars as a team.
Oh yeah,
And I think he's going to suffer as the face of the franchise this season because it's going to take a little while to put a competent team around him.
well, I mean, it's like look at Joe Burrow. I mean,
Let's jump to the next guy on the list. We do have a bunch of guys to talk about here. Actually, we can just skip past the next guy because Zach Wilson. We're both on the same page. Zach Wilson's irrelevant for redraft
yeah,
this year,
I hate
right?
the Jets. Yeah,
Yeah. There's that's a fantasy wasteland. The Jets have tons of holes. Maybe draft Corey Davis, but
that was a wasted pick on all parties.
no, I mean the Jets. So I know we said we were skipping. The Jets needed to draft a quarterback. They did. They traded Sam Darnold. They needed to take a shot at their guy. I don't think that I wouldn't have taken Zach Wilson. I would have taken Justin Fields, but I don't begrudge the Jets for taking a shot at him. I think it's a good actual football decision. When it comes to fantasy, though, don't care. Not touching him with a 10-foot pole. Maybe he has like one good matchup or something this season, and I stream him. But I'm not. I am not looking in this guy's direction. I don't have to see what the schedule is, but like, I mean, I never rule out there can be any streaming options.
Can we talk about the next guy though?
Yeah.
Because I love this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Trey Lance pick. He's the easy QB1 for me out of the 5 guys selected in the first round. It's hard to get a better situation out of the gates than what Trey Lance has. I mean, he's got the coaching staff, he's got the O-line, he's got the weapons, he's got a solid defense to, just round out the team as a whole. If Trey Lance doesn't succeed, it's Trey Lance.
I mean, I hate to compare it to his predecessor, but this is basically what Jimmy G was given. And now this is kind of the second coming of...
Well, but Jimmy wasn't bad when he was on the field. Jimmy just couldn't stay on the field.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, hopefully, the second time around, the Niners quarterback that gets blessed is going to have, the success. I mean, to be fair, Jimmy brought them to a Super Bowl. He just couldn't, punch it home.
That's what I'm saying. Jimmy wasn't bad when he was on the field.
Yeah, but there's not a lot that you can really say to say the situation's bad.
I think one of the biggest things I like about Trey Lance, aside from the weapons that he has and everything, we're talking about like fantasy specifically here, not just football as a whole. I think one of the biggest things I like about Trey Lance that a lot of these other guys don't have is not only does he have a rocket arm, and not only does he have great weapons around him and a great coaching staff. Kyle Shanahan is, I think, one of the top 5 coaches in the league, in my opinion. He's got a huge rushing floor. Like I haven't fully statted everyone out yet, but like. Just at a cursory glance, I'm probably going to have this guy at least at 600 yards, maybe 700 yards for what I project him to get on the ground. Like, that rushing floor is going to make him just like Lamar Jackson, so viable in redraft formats or and for fantasy managers because he doesn't have to do it all through the air. He can get a ton of points on the ground, and then the air is just bonus. He's the easy rookie QB1 for me. He's someone that I'm very interested in redraft. I think, especially because you can stack him really easily, because he is going to be going like, probably 8th, 9th, maybe 10th round.
Yeah, and I mean, similar to Lamar Jackson, too, I think that is, I mean, I'm not putting him up there with Lamar, but, I mean, look at the top 3 rushing teams last year, the Niners, Seahawks, and Ravens. I mean, the rushing floor is obviously there,
yeah,
and that's what the league is moving towards, is the running QB, or not even running QB that can run. So, that on top of having all these weapons around him, a great defense, there's not a lot to hate.
Yeah, there's like 2 quarterbacks that I'm really interested in redraft formats this season, and it's surprising, the 2 running ones. Speaking of that, jumping down to the other running quarterback, Justin Fields, the guy that I wish had gone to the 49ers, because that would have been a match made in heaven, I think. I also love Justin Fields for redraft. I mean, it's a slightly worse situation. I don't trust Nagy's play calling as much as I trust Shanahan's. The Bears' offense as a whole is worse than the 49ers. But it's still an excellent, he still gets to throw to Allen Robinson. He still has David Montgomery on the ground. The Bears' O-line is but he's a running quarterback. He doesn't care as much about, he can fix a lot of that on his own. And also, we know, because we've seen him do this in college, we know he's tough as hell. So I'm not worried about him taking a hit and deciding that he doesn't want to play football anymore. Like, Justin Fields is is someone who I'm potentially going to be looking to late in drafts. I think to try and uh, steal a really high upside guy like a la Lamar Jackson in his MVP season. I don't think that's. I mean, honestly, that could be his ceiling. I don't expect him to get to that, but like that's the kind of upside that we're looking at with Justin Fields. Like he can make all the throws, he can run like the Dickens. Like this guy, and he has good weapons to throw to. Like
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm not for redraft. I'm not saying he's out of the question. Honestly, I'm looking at late best ball for Justin Fields.
I have a good amount of him in best ball. He's
Yeah.
really easy to stack with Allen Robinson because of where he's going.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me is, again, like I said, he's not out of the question with redraft for me, depending on his price. But I think he's gonna be a steal in best ball because
Oh, for like he's someone who if he starts to sneak into the single digit rounds, I'm out.
yeah,
Because there is still enough risk there. I mean, Andy Dalton is still technically the starter. It is still the Bears. Like there's enough risk there that if he moves into the single digit rounds, I'm out. There are other players I'd rather take, but I expect him to stay in double digits. And if he's in double digits at that point, I'm fine. Just throwing a dart at him. I'm team late round QB. I don't typically believe in drafting QBs high. I'm fine throwing a dart at Justin Fields and just targeting once again that rushing upside and just trying to lock in someone who can get me some easy fantasy points. I don't want to talk about Mac Jones. We have to.
I was like, we did.
Like I'm a Patriot. Full disclosure, I'm a Patriots fan. I'm not excited about this pick.
Is he the starter?
Probably. Cam Newton sucks.
So he had COVID last year.
I think that Mac Jones got the second best situation out of all of the QBs because he gets the coaching staff. He has a good offensive line. He has good weapons around him. I don't think Mac Jones is the QB2 in redraft. I have him as the QB4.
That was my question.
But I think that he ended. In the draft, I was really, really hoping Bill was going to go after Justin Fields because I'd be over the moon. Mac Jones, we'll see. I mean, supposedly he's smart, so he has a good chance of picking up the Patriots' offense fast. I don't expect there to be much competition for the job for him because he should be better than Cam Newton. So it's an upgrade for the Patriots' weapons. Like I said, and he's kind of in a situation like Trey Lance where it's like all of the tools are there for him. He has Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels teaching him the NFL game. He has two really good tight ends, a handful of average to above average receiving options at wide receiver. Damian Harris and Sony Michel are still there at running back. Good O-line. It's not going to shock me if Bill's right again and Mac Jones ends up being good, but
so what is your top three right now? Is it
he's below Trevor Lawrence just because of talent. I think I wanted to put him above Trevor Lawrence because I like the situation better, but I just can't. But Mac Jones is someone who I'm looking at as a potential breakout, maybe not breakout, but potential deep sleeper QB candidate where he could be an every week starter if Cam Newton just sucks and also he's good because all of the interlocking pieces are there around him to make him a really good quarterback in the NFL. He just has to, be the final piece. If he can make that step, he could end up being the best quarterback out of this draft for fantasy purposes for this season. But I'm hesitant about him actually being able to take that step. So we'll see.
As a non-Patriots fan, I would also be hesitant to make that.
Yeah, I don't. The biggest thing I like about him is that his draft capital is going to be low, so you can probably get him in the last round of drafts come draft season, or maybe even just undrafted and you pick him up off the waiver wire, unless he just looks gangbusters in the preseason and drives his fantasy stock up then.
Can we talk about the steal of the draft though? No pun intended. You can see the finger guns. Pun intended.
I hate you, Frankie. This is a no pun zone. All right, so all puns aside, Najee Harris goes 24 overall to Pittsburgh. I'm really split on this one because on one hand, I love a lot about this. Pittsburgh using a first round pick on Najee Harris. That's a lot of commitment to the kid. There's no other real running back threats on the team. Like, who's going to take a job from Benny Snell? Like, there is no.
I drink up.
There is no major threats. This isn't a Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines situation. He's it. He's the only show in town at the running back position for the most part. And the kid has all the talent in the world. Like, everything is pointing towards this being a slam dunk spot for him in Pittsburgh. Except for the fact that the Steelers suck at running the football all of a sudden. Like, this isn't the Le'Veon Bell Steelers. This isn't even the James Conner Steelers from a few years ago. This is like a bottom third O-line when it comes to the rushing attack. And Big Ben is ineffective and old. Like, the passing attack just does not work as well as it has in the past. So it's not supporting the rushing attack like it used to. And the O-line's gotten worse. And they didn't really do much to fix it in the draft or the offseason either. Like, I'm really split because he could be a 300 touchback. He could and should get bell cow numbers this season from a opportunity perspective. I don't know if he's gonna be able to turn those opportunities into bell cow results though.
So I think that my biggest thing is when I'm looking at just him as a player and what I've seen from him, I think the best comp is probably a lesser Le'Veon Bell.
I mean, everyone's a lesser Le'Veon Bell. I mean, not everyone, but like
in the sense
that no one's as good as Le'Veon Bell was.
He's capable of catching the ball out of the backfield. I mean, I honestly think better than James Conner. Sure. Especially what we've seen these last couple of years, other than the glory days of James Conner. I agree, though. I think that we've seen the Steelers.
The glory day of James Conner. He had one season.
I think that we've seen the O-line take a we'll call it a downturn.
That's being polite.
Yep, I that's all I am is polite. Anyways, I think that there's a lot of opportunity here.
Well, yeah, there is because there's no one else in town.
It's just, I have high hopes for the kid. I think that he has the talent, and I think I agree. I think that we're going to see a lot of, I mean, Benny Snell's not taking the job. That's just 100% out of the question for me. Where are you looking at him in redraft if you are?
I'm definitely looking at him in redraft because anyone who's going to get the usage that he should get has to be rostered. He's at this moment. So currently he's ranked. I'm just pulling up his consensus ranking right now. Currently his consensus ranking is 18, right behind DeAndre Swift. And I think that's a little low for me. But also, actually, honestly, that's probably right where I would have him. It's more just that there are a handful of guys above him that I don't think I would take over him. So I wouldn't take DeAndre Swift over him. I wouldn't take Miles Sanders over him.
Can I just clarify?
What?
Not where do you see him finishing? I'm saying where would you? Where's your threshold for taking him?
Right. So I'm saying 18 is probably a good spot for him. I'm just saying there are currently some guys above him in consensus rankings that I wouldn't take over him. But I would consider taking Chris Carson and David Montgomery over him, and they're both below him in the rankings. So that's why I say that I think that 18 is a good spot for him.
I also think Chris Carson's at a value right now.
Yeah, Chris Carson's ranked 20th best running back so far this season in consensus rankings. But I think 18 is probably in the 15 to 20 range is where you should be looking at Najee Harris because he's gonna get opportunities like a top 5 guy.
Yeah,
it's just he's probably not going to produce like a top 5 guy unless he is just a transcendent talent or the Steelers somehow magically get better. Sadly, he's the only running back that I care about for fantasy purposes as well because the other two guys, this was a 3 running back class. And
the next situation is less than ideal.
There was basically 3 running backs taken in the first round this year too, which is egregious. I mean, Javonte Williams went at the top of the second. He missed the first round by 3 picks, basically. So, I I hate the landing spots for the other two, though. I mean, Travis Etienne, barf. So much barf. Why? Why Jacksonville? You have so many other needs. You have so many other needs on that bleeding team. Your defense is terrible. Your O-line is terrible. Your pass catchers are Like, draft anyone else.
The pass catchers are fine.
No, but they're fine.
I would say my main problem with it is that it's not like they didn't have. Honestly, I'm gonna call James Robinson a premier back.
No, they didn't have, because I can understand it from that perspective at least. James Robinson is an undrafted rookie. You don't know if this is a flash in the pan season. A lot of people have had those. I'm fine with you hedging your bets against James Robinson, but you don't hedge your bets with a first-round pick at running back. Especially when guys like Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore and Rondell Moore were all still on the board at wide receiver. Like, you have other needs on this team. You have wide receiver needs. You have, like I said, O-line needs. You have defense needs. Draft a position of need and not a running back where you have an all-pro.
Well, yeah, that I mean, I guess that was a better way to phrase it. Is not that he was a premier back, but you didn't need a running back.
Yeah, roll the dice. See if he's legit. If he's not, you could just fix it next year or draft a running back later.
And I think
or pick up a guy after you have Carlos Hyde too, who is perfectly serviceable.
Also, picking up another receiver would have helped the guy you drafted number 1.
Yeah, no, I hate this pick a lot. This just makes it so I don't want either Jacksonville running back, which is too bad because James Robinson was going to be an interesting running back to own this year. Travis Etienne was looking like, you know, he could have been a splash player if he ended up on the right team. And now I'm just sitting here like, guess I'm ranking both of them outside of my top 24.
Yeah, I was gonna say James Robinson, you were getting super cheap too, like based on just where our rankings went.
Yeah, I mean, James Robinson is all the way down at 31 now post-draft. Travis Etienne is at 27, and that's basically right where I think both of them need to be.
That is a fall from grace if I've ever seen one.
Oh yeah, no, I hate words can't describe how much I hated that pick. And then the only other fantasy relevant or potentially fantasy relevant guy is another one where I really, really hate the landing spot.
I just don't understand.
Javonte Williams was, like I said, it was a class of 3 running backs, and Javonte Williams went to the Broncos, who already have Melvin Gordon. Like, this feels like it's going to be the same situation as last year now, and it was Gordon and Lindsey, and they're just going to be battling for touches, and sometimes one's going to be good, and sometimes the other's going to be good, and you never know who to trust, and both of their ceilings are terrible.
Yeah, as far as redraft goes, like, I mean, you know me personally, I like to stay away from committees altogether, but unfortunately that's what the NFL seems to be trending towards, which I hate, but I think particularly in this case, especially if, say, they don't get Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I am completely out on this backfield.
Yeah, honestly, Rodgers going to the Broncos makes this a really annoying situation because if Rodgers is on the Broncos, you kind of have to like at least one of the running backs. So then it comes down to, are you going with the hot rookie that they spent a high pick on, or are you going with Melvin Gordon, the guy that spent a lot of money on?
And it's like you have to call the ball on that.
Yeah.
Unless you're playing best ball, in which case you still have to call the ball on that.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario, Rodgers doesn't go there, but then that sucks for everyone else. So
Yep.
It's just I wish Javonte Williams went to a different team, but he didn't. So here we are. My official stance is avoid both of them.
Yep.
And that's basically all there is to talk about for running backs. Jumping to wide receiver, another position that frustrated me wildly because this was an awesome wide receiver class, and so many of them went to terrible landing spots. Like, so we're going to start with Jamar Chase in a move that surprises no one. Jamar Chase goes to team up with his old college teammate Joe Burrow, and it's so dumb. It's aggressively dumb.
I don't like it.
They should have just drafted Sewell and protected their quarterback because the Bengals already had 2 great wide receivers, great, in Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. They didn't need, yes, is Jamar Chase probably going to work out in Cincinnati? Yes. He is an excellent wide receiver. He has all the physical tools he needs to succeed in the NFL. He's playing with a quarterback he already has chemistry with. He's probably going to be a good NFL wide receiver. But was this a position of need for the Bengals? Really? No!
I think they're trying to be the Chiefs right now. They're just loading up on weapons.
But the Chiefs don't even do this. The Chiefs have 2 guys.
Well, now they have 2 guys. It's
They've always had 2 guys. Even when they had more than 2 guys, they had 2 guys.
regardless. I agree. I don't like it. I think that they're trying to overload on weapons. They're trying to basically just out offense the other team,
Which doesn't work in the NFL.
Oh no, it doesn't work, especially when your defense is.
And especially when you have a quarterback who's coming off of a massive knee injury. Like, protect the high draft value quarterback that you want to be the future of your franchise. Do you know what Jamar Chase can't do for Joe Burrow? Block.
No, I don't like it. I think that I would have gone O-line here. I would have gone, honestly, maybe even defense here, depending who was there on the board.
No, you go O-line there, because it was at pick 5. Everyone was on the board, but you take Sewell and you move on.
Yeah.
And then, like, it on top of all that, like, it sucks for fantasy too, because this is a deep target tree now. There's 3 mouths to feed in this offense. Not all of them are going to eat, or if they all eat, then none of them are superstars for fantasy purposes. So it's like, I'm not even excited about his fantasy production this year, because he's probably going to end up with like 60, 70 catches. Like, ooh, that's what we want out of Jamar Chase. He's my wide receiver too, just because of his chemistry with Burrow and the skill that he has as a player. But like, it's easy to get to wide receiver too, honestly, with the way the other ones got drafted.
Yeah, it's
because so we'll jump to Jalen Waddle here, because it's a nice segue. Jalen Waddle basically got drafted in the same exact situation that Jamar Chase got drafted into, but it's just worse all around. Because he went to the Dolphins, so he gets a downgraded quarterback.
There's just so many weapons there already.
Right. It's terrible. Like, is Jalen Waddle a good pick for the Dolphins? Probably. I mean, the Dolphins are at least a more complete team. Decent O-line, good defense. Like, they needed a wide receiver, but like, it sucks for fantasy. Like, they signed Will Fuller in the offseason. They already have Parker there. Gesicki is still there. Myles Gaskin looked good at running back. Like,
yeah, I will say, honestly, I like him a little bit more than I like Chase, because I think he is just.
I don't, because I prefer the Burrow Chase connection than I do the Tagovailoa Waddle connection.
I think that he's just in a better situation overall. I mean, it's like there are a lot of weapons there, and when I say a lot of weapons, I mean there's not really a lot they're missing, because they had so much draft capital and they've already had a good defense. It's just, I don't know. I think that people are not homering. That's the wrong word, but I think that people are focusing too much on the Chase, Burrow connection, where
I mean, chemistry means a lot, especially for a rookie wide receiver. I don't see the Dolphins throwing enough to feed the mouths on their offense. That's my big issue with this, is the Dolphins, like the Bengals now, have a lot of mouths to feed in that offense, and they're not gonna be playing fast. They have a really good defense. They're gonna be playing defensive games. They're gonna try and not have Tua throw the ball too much. There's just not enough targets to go around. Jalen Waddle's I'm sorry, he's irrelevant to me in 2021 for fantasy purposes. Talk to me again in 2022 when Will Fuller's not on the team anymore. Maybe that's another discussion we can have. But like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong here. But I don't see Waddle providing any fantasy value outside of maybe a spot start or two.
Well, I mean, what? He's the wide receiver 3 on that team? Maybe.
I will accept an argument that you could say maybe talent wise he's the 2, maybe the 1. But and we've seen Devontae Parker and Will Fuller have injury issues. So if you're looking for upside, that's the upside, is that maybe one of them gets hurt and he's a high upside handcuff at wide receiver. But like, who the hell holds handcuff at wide receiver? No one. There's a million of them.
Yeah, it's honestly, I would be.
He's irrelevant unless someone gets hurt.
Yeah,
and I don't bet on injury.
I was gonna say I can't consciously put him above Devontae Parker as far as talent goes.
That's fine. They've got a lot of draft capital on that team.
Yeah.
Will Fuller's number one overall pick. Devontae Parker was number one overall, but number one pick. Devontae Parker was in the first round. Gesicki was second or third, if I recall. Like they've got a lot of high. I mean, outside of the running back position, basically, because Gaskins is just a guy, but he performed admirably. But like they've got a lot of high value guys on that team, and like I said, I just don't see there being enough volume to feed Waddle.
Speaking of high value guys, I begrudgingly am excited about this next guy.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to open with something potentially heretical in fantasy circles because I don't like Devonta Smith. It's not the talent. I think the talent is amazing, and what he did in college was electric. But receivers of his size traditionally don't work out in the NFL. And yes, I can hear fantasy Twitter come screaming at me right now. He can just put on weight. He's gonna beef right up. He can get up to proper size. I don't care. We have a decent sample size of guys of his frame and weight not working out in the NFL. Basically the only one is like Deshaun Jackson. Like I'm not
coincidentally on the same team though.
Yeah, but like so I'm not a fan of that. Now I'm going to go in the exact opposite direction, though, because he ended up in the best situation. His only competition there for targets, he's like Dallas Goedert and Jalen Reagor. And Jalen Reagor looks like a bust.
He had injury issues.
I don't care. He looks like a bust.
I don't know. I wouldn't call him a bust yet. I think we need to see a full season out of Jalen Reagor.
I also just don't think that Jalen Reagor can hold Devonta Smith's jock as far as talent goes. Like he is far and away the most talented receiver on this team.
Did you watch that national championship game?
Yeah, he is far and away the most talented receiver on this team. He's the only rookie receiver, in my opinion, that even has a shot at 100+ catches, which would be huge, honestly. But like, it's for him, it's just a situation of who else is Hurts going to throw to. Yeah, like I don't know if I have to choose one of these rookie wide receivers, I'm trying to target Smith. I don't know exactly where I would have him going. I still have to, stat all these guys out and figure out where I have him slotting in. But he definitely has the best upside of any of the rookies.
110%.
Anything else to add to that?
No, I mean I pretty much agree with everything you said. I mean he's honestly, in my opinion, the most talented receiver in the draft. He went to a team that has no one else to throw to.
Yeah, big need at wide receiver.
I don't know if I have him at 100, but he has probably the only chance to go over 100.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I have him at 100 targets, but if I'm betting on one of these rookies to go over or 100 catches, like if I'm betting on one of these rookies to go over 100 catches, it's him.
Yeah.
And then from there it's just downhill. Rashad Bateman, a guy that I was looking for. I was thinking maybe he could go, help out some needy team at wide receiver, and technically he's doing that. But
I would be hesitant to call them a needy team at wide receiver.
I'd call them needy in the sense that I don't like either of the other wide receivers.
Oh, I would be more hesitant to call them needy in the sense that Lamar Jackson just doesn't like to throw the football.
So I'm going to have a bit of an odd take here, but I love this pick for Lamar Jackson. Like, the biggest winner of Rashad Bateman getting drafted by the Ravens is Lamar Jackson. Because Lamar Jackson's throwing upside is much higher than it was 2 weeks ago. Or even 5 days ago. He is looking like a locked and loaded top 5 QB for me now after the draft. But kind of like what we were saying with everyone not named Devonta Smith, but exacerbated because it's the fucking Ravens. Like Hollywood, Watkins, Andrews, now Bateman. This team doesn't throw that much. Even if they increase their throwing volume, this isn't like I don't think there's enough targets to go around. This is just flat out there is not enough targets to go around in this Ravens offense.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson likes to run the football a lot, in case any of you guys didn't know that.
Yeah, he's going to run for 1,000 yards again. That's what Lamar Jackson does. And when your quarterback's rushing for 1,000 yards, your receivers are not eating.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I like all the upgrades that they made at the wide receiver position.
Oh, it makes a ton of actual football sense.
Yeah, maybe to, try and coax him into throw. Maybe he's going to try and, throw for more yards and more receptions. But I think at the end of the day, we're still going to see, that same fast-moving Ravens offense, and it's going to be a lot of rushing.
And the issue is, like, Lamar Jackson's not going to turn into Josh Allen. He's not going to turn into a 40-plus touchdown guy overnight. He's still going to do all of his running, and then J.K. Dobbins is going to come in and run the football some more, and then Gus Edwards is going to come in and run the football some more, and
then when they get into the 20, they're going to throw to Andrews.
Yeah, Andrews is probably the only pass catcher I want in this offense, honestly. But like, I hate it for Rashad Bateman because I was excited to see where he goes, and then he went to like the worst possible destination for me.
I mean, this to me is kind of similar to Waddle and Chase in the sense that it's going to be more of a, hey, he's the 2-3 there, and you're going to have to call the ball.
But at least the Bengals throw a lot.
Yeah,
because that to me is the difference between Chase, Waddle, and Bateman is that Chase, at least in an offense that's going to be throwing a lot, whereas the Dolphins and the Ravens aren't. They've both got good defenses. They both want to modulate their passing game by running, we'll say. And then honestly, after Bateman, it's just a messy hodgepodge of guys. Honestly, someone that I am hesitantly interested in, or I guess two people that I'm hesitantly interested in, though, depending on how cheap they're going, I think Rondale Moore to the Cardinals and Amon-Ra St. Brown to the Lions both could be, or I guess, and I'll say Amari Rodgers to the Packers if Aaron Rodgers stays on the Packers. I know, but I'm saying we'll say Amari Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers stays, but Amon-Ra and Rondale, those are two guys that we didn't really write anything up about because they were, just further down the wide receiver list. But those are both guys in positions on teams that needed wide receivers. There's no one in Detroit, and Arizona basically just had DeAndre Hopkins, and that was it. So, like, those are both guys that could end up with a lot of target volume. Definitely guys to at least slap an eyeball on. And then, in a move that will shock no one, tight end. How many tight ends did you write down, Frank? Because I wrote down one.
I've told you this before the draft. This was the only guy I was sold on completely for the entire draft.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts to Atlanta is pretty spicy.
I will say, I am a little bit worried, not from a talent perspective, but how they used Hayden Hurst last year, and also Mouths.
Well, so I look at it like this, because I was thinking about that, and my takeaway, honestly, is one, I don't expect Julio to be on this team at the start of the season. The more I'm looking at it, the more I think that Julio is going to have a new home this offseason. And if Julio leaves, it's a lot of vacated targets that are pretty much all going to go to Kyle Pitts, because Calvin Ridley can't take more. He had a ton last season. So like Russell Gage will take a step up. A lot of them are going to go to Pitts. Hayden Hurst looked like an experiment last season, and he got target volume, and he replaced his hands with sticks of butter. A lot of those balls ended up on the ground or incomplete. I liked the move. I liked Hurst with the Ravens. I thought it was he was one of my breakout candidates last year at the tight end position. It did not work out. I think them drafting Pitts at 4 is them saying, "Hey, that's like Josh Rosen into Kyler Murray." They're saying that didn't work. Let's try something else.
Yeah, Hurst. I mean, to give him a little bit of credit.
He's not going anywhere, but...
Oh, no. I was going to say, Matt Ryan didn't throw the best balls a couple of times.
No, and that's fair, but Kyle Pitts is just so much better than Hayden Hurst.
I will say, my only thing is how Hayden Hurst panned out last year. Otherwise, completely sold on him. I think that as far as talent goes, he's going to be the best player at their position for the entire draft. That goes QB's playing QB, wide receivers always playing wide receivers. I think that he is going to be I'm going to be hesitant calling him a generational talent. But
Also, he also has the advantage of being at tight end, which, as we've said a couple times, is a wasteland in fantasy.
yeah.
Like the path for him to be the number 3, number 2, maybe even number 1 tight end is far easier than it is for any of these other guys to end up as the number 1 at their respective positions. Because he's probably coming in as the 5, maybe 6. Like he is coming into a situation where the Falcons throw so like you can just pencil Matt Ryan in for 5,000 yards. So like the Falcons throw a ton. Julio's getting up there in age. They don't have a tight end that can catch right now. It's basically just Calvin Ridley and Mike Davis.
He did actually throw the most last season.
I know. They throw an absurd amount. Like, even if Julio stays on this team, I'm still not scared of him because Matt Ryan throws enough to feed three people. Like, and we know the touchdowns aren't going to Julio. Calvin Ridley gets 8 a season?
You do have to be on the field to get touchdowns, yes.
Yes. So like, Calvin Ridley gets like we'll say maybe 10 touchdowns. We'll pencil like he's gonna get looks in the red zone because he's that's ultimately just where tight ends get looks. He's huge. He's got Velcro hands. He's gonna get he's a guy who can catch a ball anywhere on the field. He's gonna be I feel like he's gonna be their primary red zone target when they're throwing in the red zone.
Oh,
I like his upside a lot at tight and also with tight end upside is the biggest thing. Like if I'm not getting Kittle, Kelsey, or Waller, I'm just looking for who presents the most upside.
I was gonna say even if they're like not even if they're rushing the red zone, but they don't have a really good running back anymore.
I mean, Mike Davis is fine. Mike Davis is honestly better than what they had last year.
He's fine, but I mean, do you want fine or do you want a guy who's gonna go up and probably get you a touchdown?
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, I like him. I agree. I like him better than what they had last year. I mean, shout out to Todd Gurley. He tried, but
yeah.
I mean, again,
his old ass knees just couldn't do it.
Yeah, this was the guy that I was sold, and this was my favorite pick in the draft as far as where he went to because he's on a team that likes to throw a lot with a lot of talent around him. So
and they traditionally like to throw to the tight end too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'm excited about that. And then looking at the rest of the tight ends, there's really no one else I'm excited about. I mean, so the one guy that I would say could be a sneaky dart throw if you miss on all the other guys. I liked what Brevin Jordan was bringing to the table from an athletic perspective, and honestly, he didn't go. I'm surprised he went as the 6th tight end off the board because he was my number 2, but. I think Brevin Jordan ending up with the Texans is honestly a pretty good landing spot because he just could by default end up being their number 2 receiver behind Cooks.
That is if Deshaun Watson is still playing football.
It doesn't matter if Deshaun Watson's there. Deshaun Watson doesn't catch the ball. And honestly, if it's not Deshaun Watson, I might like Brevin Jordan even a little bit more because he's a tight end. And I don't even know who their backup is, but I bet you he's going to be doing a bunch of dump offs to the tight end and the running back. So, Brevin Jordan's a guy to keep your eye on as the year moves towards the opening day for the NFL. And if he's getting some attention in the preseason, if he's linking up with Deshaun Watson or whoever's throwing the ball for them, maybe throw a last round pick at him or something. Just stash him on your bench in case he blows up.
Yeah, I did also have him at 2 as well. I was kind of surprised that he went as a 6th tight end off the board.
Well, that'll do it for our rookie breakdown. I look forward to talking about these guys more as the season gets closer and we actually start statting these guys out, putting hard and fast numbers to go next to their names instead of just speculation. As always, if you like what you're getting from us, if you like the information, if you just think we're entertaining, if you hate us and you want to tell us how much we suck, comment on the video or subscribe. So that we can hate watch,
Definitely slide into our
and reach out to us on either YouTube or Twitter because we always like to hear from viewers and honestly even if it's just ways that you think we could improve and every comment helps.
Yeah, slide into our Twitter mentions and tell us what we're doing good, tell us what we're doing bad. If you have a question, we are more than happy to answer.
Tell Frankie that Aaron Jones sucks. He loves to hear that.
Oh, he is so undervalued right now. We'll get into that in a later show.
Yeah.
But no, it's, like, comment, subscribe. It's, I'm looking forward to a great season with you guys.
Sure. And keep an eye out soon because we are launching a website soon as well.
We are.
Have a good one, guys.